guys, it is Ashley from Of Fiction and Fantasy, and today I am here to bring you the long-awaited November 2020 wrap-up video. This month in November, I took part in 2 readathons. I did not mean to, that's just kind of how it happened. The first one was the ClearUrShit readathon, hosted by, I think, Mouse and Elle. This one did go from the month of November and December, so there were a bunch of prompts. I didn't finish all of them within the 2 months, but I will list the ones that I finished for November. And the second one was the 1,000 Doors readathon, so I'm still kind of in the midst of that. I know that the readathon was only in November, but I'm just casually taking my time going through the doors. This video is incredibly long awaited for me because I count the books that I read based on the month that I started them in, or in the month that I read the first like 25% of it in. So I have been working on a book from November up until now, and today is January 8th or 9th. As this was 2 months ago, I did have some of these books in physical copies, but I have since given them away to my friends and family or returned them to the library. So we're gonna work with what we've got, and if I don't have it, I'm gonna put it up in one of these corners so that you can see what it looks like. And also, if I'm looking down, I apologize. It's been 2 months, so I'm a little rusty on what I read and what I rated it. So I have some notes here. We're gonna go from the least to the best. The first one that I read was some kind of novella. I won it during a giveaway. It is called Dear Diary by M.B. Feeney. This book was rated 1 star. Dear Diary was the shortest book in the ClearUrShit readathon. As I said, it was less than 100 pages. Okay, for lack of spoiling it, it is about a girl in high school. I think she is 16 and from London, and she goes on an exchange trip to the US, and she stays with this family that has 2 sons, and she falls in love with both of them. And that's pretty much the extent of the story. It was bad. 1 star. We're gonna move on. The next book that I gave 2 stars to was Notorious by Minerva Spencer. Notorious was just a free choice with the ClearUrShit readathon. This was an arc that I received from NetGalley. I was reading the excerpt from this on Bookish First, actually, when I first heard about the book, and it seemed like it was going to be a 5-star book of the year. It seemed like it was about historical romance between 2 very witty and amusing characters who were very stubborn in their ways, hated one another, that were going to be forced into an arranged marriage. This seemed very much like an enemies to friends to lovers trope, with a little bit of like childhood friends mixed in there. I was really excited for this book. It turned out that it was really just a really good setup that turned into a bunch of really not thought out reasons for characters to have sex repeatedly with no plot. That seemed really cruel, I'm sorry. I did not enjoy it. The characters, they had a really great concept in the beginning between the characters, but as soon as they got married, it seemed as though it was really just reading about like a strong alpha male who dominates a woman who used to be a stubborn feminist, and it didn't rub the right way with me. And I'm not super into smutty books. I guess I thought it was like a young adult fiction, so I didn't think that would be a huge component of it. And at one point, I know that this is an arc, so I do expect like typos and things like that, but at one point she called the character the wrong name, the main male character, so that I pretty much was lost at that point, like about 60 to 70% through. It was a quick read though. Yeah, if you're looking for a quick smutty read that is a lot more about the smut than the characters, and you like alpha males, then I guess I could sort of recommend it, but still not really. There was not a lot of research done into the characters' cultures, and I talked about that in previous videos, so I really don't know that I can support that book. What I would say was almost a worse 2-star read for me was Dragonfly and Amber by Gabaldon. That is another historical fiction. It's the second book in the Outlander series. Dragonfly and Amber was the most expensive book in the ClearUrShit readathon. I did not personally pay for this book, nor do I own any books in the Outlander series since I don't foresee myself rereading it. But I did read on the back when I had a copy of the hardcover from the library that it was $34, I think. So that was probably cheating because it wasn't an owned book, but I had it when the readathon started. So that's where we're at. And I had a lot of mixed feelings about Outlander. It was a very quick read for me. I think I read the entire thing over a week, most of it over one weekend. This book took me from the beginning of November until yesterday to finish, or the day before yesterday to finish. I guessed, so in the beginning of Dragonfly and Amber, we are like 20 years in the future. I got around 7 to 8 different copies, whether electronic or physical, of this book throughout the time as I was dealing with Michael coming home from Korea versus leaving our duty station to go to our actual permanent residence and then coming back a month later. So I had to keep switching my books out based on where I was living at the time last year. So that was a hassle and perhaps did annoy me outside of the reading, and that could be affecting my rating, but maybe like half a star. And I really wanted to rate this 1.5 stars. So I feel like it deserves the 2-star rating. We start with this book 20 years in the future, and in one of the book's intros there's a note from the author saying that there's no reason that we're 20 years in the future except for the fact that she didn't want to write a child. So that's pretty much it. So yeah, we were 20 years in the future where Claire has a daughter. The daughter is named Brianna Randall, but it's very clear by her bright red hair that she is Jamie's daughter. So she would be Brianna Fraser, I guess. And we are introduced to another male character who off the bat seems as though he will be a romantic interest for Brianna. I guessed a plot twist involving this chapter 1, and I thought it was a little out there and it would have been quite trite, so I was hoping that that was not what was happening. And then I spent most of the 20 years in the future being like, okay, can we please go to the past? And then when we go to the past, honestly, about halfway through the book, I was really just wanting to go back to the 20 years in the future because the whole, just all the plots in France, it really just seemed like there wasn't really a plot as much as just putting Claire in different scenarios that would piss Jamie off and turn him into some, again, like outrageous alpha male who gets upset and punches people or something like that. I don't know. Or where Claire just gets into the horrible, horrible situations and has to get separated from Jamie. I really felt like I was watching the series The 100 where Bellamy and Clark continuously have to go in different directions. I think over Christmas I was really looking for, at that point, just a cozy read, and this was not that. So I gave it 2 stars. By the end, in the final chapters, you find out this big plot reveal, and it was exactly what I had guessed back in chapter 1. So in essence, nothing really happened throughout the entire book. And then even by the end of the last book, or by the end of the last chapter, there really wasn't, I don't know, I feel like it was a filler book. So I don't know, I will try reading the 3rd one, but I don't love it. As much as I thought I would at all. Hopefully I feel differently about the next one. I'm really continuing it because I have completionist problems and I hate leaving series open. Even if I don't like it, it has to be like a 1-star read to stop it. That's it for 2-star reads. This month we did not have any 3-star reads. The first door in the 1,000 Doors readathon that I did was with Meg with Books. And it was a meme that said that's history. So for that one I picked Send Me Their Souls. And that was also the found family trope with the ClearUrShit readathon. Okay, I rated Send Me Their Souls by Sara Wolf as a 4-star read. That is the third book in the Bring Me Their Hearts series, and I got this as an ARC on NetGalley. That was one of my favorite reads. I think I read it in the beginning of this year or the end of last year. I really enjoyed the series. I think the second book may have been my favorite because it involved a lot of the side characters, or just developing more relationship between all of the characters. And I didn't really have any major complaints with the series. The ending wasn't as edge of the seat for me. I can't really honestly at this point remember the ending, but it wasn't clearly lasting. So I guess that was really my only complaint. There was a cool epilogue to the series as well, like 5 to 10 years later. It was good. We'll go with that. It wasn't great, but it was good. And then Door 2 was also with Meg. That was a meme saying I'm back. So for that one I did Dragonfly and Amber, since we went back in time, and that brought me today to Door 3, also with Meg. That one is a meme that said I'm done with these games, and she said to read a book that maybe is inspired by a game. So for that one, this is not a November book, it is a January book, but I will be reading the Carnelian Fox. So yes, Send Me Their Souls, 4 stars, pretty good. It was the end to a series, so I understand that those can definitely be tricky. I'm honestly just really upset that the cover art had to be changed, even though that was due to pandemic reasons. So in the end, it was just a bittersweet ending, and we'll leave it at that. The next book that I read and rated 4 stars was Black Buck by Mateo Askaripour, which is this one. I received this from Bookish First, and oh my god, this one means a lot to me because it is the first physical ARC that I ever received. So thank you so much to both Bookish First and HMH Books for this. I will be keeping this on my bookshelf. This one is a modern fiction. This is a fiction book based on a character named Darren. He is 22 years old and he is the manager of a Starbucks. He somehow, by chance almost, ends up being taken off in a whirlwind into this company that is like upstairs in some sort of skyscraper. It's like a startup business called Someone, and the CEO, Rhett, is basically like a cult leader for this group. It seemed like a huge pyramid scheme almost, and this goes incredibly wrong. This book, what is his name? I just said it. Darren, or a Buck because he worked at Starbucks, is the only black character, is the only black person in the entire company, and the company is full of a lot of racists. I will say as a trigger warning that one particular character is ridiculously racist. He uses a bunch of slurs and he is just plain the worst. So just a fair warning to him. I can't remember if he actually gets what's coming to him. Yes, this book I put as intimidating with the ClearUrShit readathon. Yes, because it says that it is for people who like Wolf of Wall Street. As I've stated many times, I did not enjoy Wolf of Wall Street except for being introduced to Margot Robbie. So I was very intimidated by the fact that I had somehow managed to get this book, but I actually really enjoyed it. It was very fun to go through the book, learning different things about marketing, since that is a lot of what I studied in college, and I really enjoyed it. There were a lot of really humorous moments. This is a book where it's pretty easy to hate almost everyone in it. And you want Darren to succeed so much, and then he basically just turns into the person that he hated. So it was a very interesting, I don't know, it's kind of like Mean Girls mixed with Wolf of Wall Street. But the funniest part of this is that Michael saw me laughing so much over FaceTime before he came home from Korea, and he wanted to read the book himself. And he asked me a couple of weeks ago why he couldn't find any of the people on Google, and it turns out he thought this was not a fiction book. So that was probably one of the most entertaining things about it as well. But I do really like it, and he's like halfway through it. I read Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, I think, and that book was crazy. I read that as a buddy read with Jamie. I also had to get like 3 or 4 copies of that. That was a disaster. The audiobook was the shortened version. It was crazy. I really genuinely did not see the ending coming at all. It wasn't what I thought. And yeah, it was, I wouldn't have rated it so high except for the fact that I didn't know what was going on the entire time, and I did want to keep reading it a lot. So I liked the author's writing style, but I had despised the main character. She was paranoid. She was self-conscious to the point that it was causing harm to herself and everyone around her, and the most naive, childish, oh goodness. I'm glad that it's over. I probably will look into reading something else by Daphne du Maurier after this. Oh, and Rebecca I picked as a pretty cover for the ClearUrShit readathon. My favorite 4-star book was How to Catch a Queen by Alyssa Cole. This one I won in my first Goodreads giveaway, and oh wait, there we go. Yes, I really enjoyed this book. It is what I thought Notorious was going to be. It is an arranged marriage trope book. This character, oh my god, I can't remember their names. Shanti and Sanyu. Yes, okay, this character Sanyu is the king of his kingdom. Basically, as of a couple chapters, or the first chapter in, yeah, so he's basically the king, and she is brought into the kingdom. He doesn't even really have any say in it. There's like royalmatch.com, where she is just a girl who decided as a child that she wants to be queen, and so because of that she spent her entire life going after her goals. And although most little girls want to be a queen or a princess, she never gave up to the point that she actually got to be the queen, until she finds out that her dream really isn't what she thought it was going to be. This book is full of quotes that I found inspirational, and I love Shanti so much. This was a great series. Really enjoyed it. It's definitely slow burn, definitely enemies to friends to lovers. And I know Alyssa Cole has other books out there. I will check those out next because I really liked the writing style. I felt like not only was it a great romance, but it also had a really good plot. I thought at the end it tied up really quickly though. They kept in mind all of the little subplots and all of the plots, and she just tied it up a little too fast for me. Like it felt like all the plots got brought in at the very last second, like the very last chapter. But it was good, and I really would recommend it to anybody who likes historical fiction or the enemies to lovers or the arranged marriage trope. So yeah, definitely my favorite of the 4 stars, and that only leaves 2 books for 5 stars. The first one is Surrender by Marylee MacDonald. I received that from Bookish First. I had that in a physical copy as an ARC. I am super grateful for that. She even signed it before sending it and wrote me a really sweet message and a card. She went above and beyond. The book got to my house so quickly after applying for it, so I am really grateful. It was a memoir, which is one of the first memoirs that I've ever read, about the author her mother had to give her up when she was a teenager because she was only 15 or 16. And then when she was adopted, the author grew up and ended up have a 15 or 16-year-old who was pregnant herself and had to give her own son up for adoption, although almost against her will. So that was a very interesting story. I gave that 5 stars because I didn't really have any complaints. I just really didn't like, I can't say the main character's boyfriend because he's a real person, but the author's boyfriend and the father of her first child, or of all of her children, really just put her into some horrible, horrible predicaments, and I got so angry reading about it. But I thought it was a heart-wrenching read, but it was also full of a lot of moments of friendship and of family and just the nitty-gritty parts of family and trying to salvage those or learn like when to let those go. And I thought that that was so important, and I loved it, and I would recommend it to anyone who enjoys nonfiction memoirs and stories of heartbreak and humanity. I definitely 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5. And for that one, I used it as a book with a blue theme for the ClearUrShit readathon, which you can see in the cover that I imported. The final book that I'm going to talk about today, and then we are finally into December, is this one is The 5 Love Languages Military Edition by Gary Chapman. I already knew about the 5 love languages because I learned about it in some youth group meeting, like in high school, and I thought it was interesting. I got, I think, physical touch at the time. And then we ended up going to a marriage retreat February 2020, and I was honestly one of the best things we ever did for our marriage. And that time I got receiving gifts and words of affirmation. And it was so interesting to learn that Michael and I both have different love languages, and it was really interesting to learn different ways to apply those to our marriage. And this book isn't specific to the military, so this one has a lot of good things to how you can apply your love language when you don't see each other in person for 9 months. So this one was really, really good. We didn't read it until the end of the deployment, and but it was still really useful, and I am grateful that we read it, and I think it really made the last month of the deployment be the best one in my opinion, but that could also be because I knew it was almost over with. And I cried like all the time reading this book, so I will definitely read it again the next time we have to go through that hellscape. But that is pretty much it for the November wrap up. I am incredibly happy that this is over, and I have looked at the camera screen too much because my ring light is set way too bright and I have a headache. So I am gonna go drink a bunch of water, and then I am halfway through. It's okay. I'm halfway through my last arc for December books, and then I will get that filmed, and I am taking part in the Among Us readathon in January, so I will post my TBR for that since I'm already working on my first 2 books for that one. And then stay tuned because I have news about me hosting a readathon coming up in March. Yeah, I'll see you guys soon. Bye.